Housewife mistakenly put on Interpol's list of most wanted criminals. A housewife was mistakenly included on a list of the most wanted British criminals in the world. Adriana Barton, 41, was horrified when her name and passport photo was featured in an Interpol list which was distributed across the world. The mum of two was contacted by worried friends and family when she appeared as one of just 3 women included in the global appeal for wanted fugitives. The red notice accused her of fraud in Costa Rica and was published on Interpol's website. Distraught and confused, she went to hand herself in to local police in Weymouth despite never been in trouble with the law. She was allowed home until they could get to the bottom of it, but it took the National Crime Agency an incredible 6 months to apologize. Lawyers for the NCA admitted they handed over her passport details and photo to Interpol in Costa Rica in error when police there asked for info on another criminal suspect. But astonishingly they denied liability for defamation, despite her photo and name being reproduced by newspapers and websites around the world. Even now when Adriana searches for her name in an online search engine, her face appears in rogues galleries of the most sought alleged criminals. She said, "I can't believe they could make such a mistake. They were looking for a criminal fraudster, but they issued a picture and name of a housewife in Weymouth. I think it's outrageous. When I looked at the page I was shaking. It was robbers and rapists and murderers, and me. Interpol and the NCA are supposed to protect people. It makes you worry about trusting the system." Adriana was out power walking when she received a message from a friend in Ireland asking if she was okay, accompanied by a link to a story on The Sun Online, in July 2017. Mrs. Barton opened the link and the story included her passport photo and name and said she was wanted for fraud. She thought the story about Interpol's 25 most wanted Britons in world was a mock-up by her friend. "I phoned her, and she wasn't joking. I just panicked. I felt sick. I knew I hadn't done anything wrong. I thought the police would be banging on the door and everyone would be looking for me. If it had been a different photo or has said wanted in China I wouldn't have worried, but it had my passport photo and said Costa Rica and I'm originally from Costa Rica." The list included a 47-year-old pilot wanted in the U.S. for allegedly grooming and sexually abusing children, and a terrorist, 43, is wanted for kidnapping and murder. Of the wanted Adriana, it had Mrs. Barton's photo, her name, but wrongly said she was Brazilian-born, aged 47, and wanted for fraud in Costa Rica. She called 2 friends who accompanied her to Weymouth police station while her husband returned home from working in London. "I was sat there and every time I saw someone come in the room with handcuffs I thought this is it, I'm going to be stuck in a police cell until they sort this out." She added, "The next day the police told me not to worry because they couldn't find out what it was all about. But I felt like everyone was looking at me. It was in my head of course, but I've lived in this town for 22 years. I go to the shops. I take the kids to school, so anyone I know who sees that photo is going to think it means me. It made me feel ill for a good couple of months. Since then I've had anxiety, I've been to the hospital with heart palpitations. I've had to go to A&E because I felt like I was having a heart attack." A spokesman for the NCA said, in 2014 Mrs. Barton's photo was incorrectly shared with the Costa Rican authorities for intelligence purposes in response to a request made by them. At no point was the NCA made aware that this intelligence would be made public sometime later. However, "We accept that the photo was shared in error and we have apologized fully to Mrs. Barton. As discussions are ongoing with her legal representatives it would not be appropriate for us to comment further." More, Vladimir Putin wants to have a summit with Donald Trump. More, girl, 11, dies of asthma attack while traveling home from her mother's funeral.